Welcome back to the BlackTrack, where I do commentary and review movies with an all-black cast, or at least a black lead. The second movie that I should have seen a long time ago is Paid in Full. What, no booze this time? No tomatoes? Well, alright then. Paid in Full was in fact, at least partially, paid in full by Dame Dash and Roc-a-fella Records. This was back when they were kind of on top of the world and had their hands in everything, whether it was music or merchandise. So why not add movies to the mix? With everything that I've heard about Paid in Full over the years, I gotta say that I had no idea that it was a period piece. Paid in Full takes place in the 80s and tells the semi-true story of the rise of 3 Harlem drug dealers. Yeah, it's as derivative gets, but at least this time, it's based on a true life subject matter and not just a made-up carbon copy of something else. Paid in Full is based on the real lives of drug dealers AZ Faison, Rich Porter, and Alpo Martinez. Director Charles Stone III, who ironically was also a music video director before doing this movie, changed the names of the characters and highlighted the important parts of the story to keep it more entertaining. But he mentions that he and Dame Dash butted heads on just how street and true to the game the movie should be. I gotta say, usually when a movie is based on a true story, it's nowhere near as accurate as the movie wants you to believe, but Paid in Full is more accurate than you might think, surprisingly. Of course, it doesn't matter how authentic your movie is if you don't have talented actors to translate it to the screen. Thankfully, Paid in Full lucked out in that department because they managed to get Mekhi Phifer, whose career had taken off after Soul Food and was on his way to starring in 8 Mile, Wood Harris, who is a criminally underrated actor who got a start in the movie Above the Rim. Don't worry, I'll get to that movie eventually. And Cameron. Yeah, I know that name doesn't exactly fit with the other two, and this was the rapper's very first movie, but don't sleep on Cameron. If anything, he brought much needed credibility to the film if you ask me. I've seen more memes about Paid in Full than I've seen of the actual movie, and I'm glad that I'm finally about to get some context to it all. But can this movie live up to its huge reputation amongst other hood films? Let's BlackTrack and find out. I'm definitely a sucker for time period accurate costumes, vehicles, and environments, so Paid in Full is starting off right for me. All of this stuff is extra impressive considering majority of the movie was recreated and shot in Vancouver and not New York. It's another situation like New Jersey Drive, where if you didn't live there and nobody ever told you, you never know. We get introduced to our characters on a typical night just like any other, just eating Asian food, betting $10,000 on paper basketball, you know, basic real nigga stuff that everybody does. It's kind of funny that even though the names are changed, they keep it close enough so that you would know exactly who everybody was based on. It's like when a knockoff movie wants to try to confuse you, so they name their movie something like Below the Rim or Floetic Justice. For instance, Cameron's character is named Rico, which sounds kind of close to Alpo. Mekhi Phifer's character's name is Mitch, which rhymes with Rich, as in Rich Porter. And Wood Harris's character's name is Ace, which admittedly doesn't sound a lot like AZ, but through process of elimination, should tell you who he is. The real AZ Faison worked real closely with the filmmakers, so I'm sure he had a hand in who was named to what, you know, for authenticity. That's the word of the day, authenticity. The party is broken up when Ace discovers that he's having a baby, but why he doesn't go straight to the hospital is a question that the movie doesn't bother to answer. I'm not judging, because I myself didn't go straight to the hospital when my first child was born, and it had dire consequences. Anyway, because of this detour, Ace is yanked into his house horror movie style. Then we transition to him looking like he just went 20 rounds with Mike Tyson. Hey, this is supposed to be 1986. Tyson was in his prime. It would have been a believable story. Then we get another transition to 1 year earlier. Hey, I'm kind of digging the little mystery that Paid in Full has going on here. Who whipped Ace's ass? I'm actually dying to know. Before we get an answer to that important question, we gotta see Ace's humble beginnings. This includes working at a dry cleaner's while this big baller in his neighborhood flashes money in his face and heavily implies that he's cutting his cocaine and Ace's sister equally, right down the middle. This Urkel looking dude is Calvin, and he's played by Kevin Carroll, a hard-working actor to this day who's in a lot of movies and TV shows like Snowfall and The Walking Dead. He doesn't take too kindly to Ace's boss constantly getting in his business though. In his head, I bet he's like, these are family matters, dude. In Ace's line of work, I'm sure he meets all kinds of interesting characters and sees all kinds of places, but none more interesting than this place. It looks like he just walked into a mansion. I had to rewind it back like, did I miss something? Even Ace was thrown off, and he lives in this city. This place belongs to this guy Lulu, who knows way more about Ace and his friends than Ace knows about him. He wants Ace to wash his clothes, but we all know that's just how it starts. First you're washing the clothes, and then you're washing the money, and then it just becomes this whole big thing, you know? I like the contrast between Ace and his friend Mitch. The movie starts with Mitch knee deep in the game, but at the same time, they take time out to show you just how much of a family man Mitch is, and how close he is with his little brother. The movie tries to show how Ace and Mitch have two different mindsets and dreams, but I feel like it was written in a way that it didn't drive the point home enough. It does have some subtle stuff though, like Mitch and Ace always appearing on opposite sides of the fence at the basketball court, but it definitely could have been more. As a side note here, I love how Wood Harris is such an expressive actor. He's always doing something with his hands, or moving in a nervous kind of way, like he's unsure of what to say or do next. And he always has this little stutter in between his words.
Nah, I was just thinking, but yeah, so why you got the help on the sign in the window?
I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it fits perfectly here, because he's an unassuming character. We get way more obvious clues on the relationship Mitch has with his uncle Ice, who thinks he's entitled to a cut of the empire for some reason. Damn man, you could at least help with the advertisement, do a cocaine commercial or something. Why should he give you anything? You ain't putting in no work. See? Told you it don't take long. Lulu snuck some of that south of the border into his pants for Ace to find, and Ace is such a square, he just gives it right back to Lulu like, excuse me sir, I believe you forgot your contraband. Nobody ever just loses cocaine. Think Ace, think. Lulu of course was ready for this, and breaks the game down to Ace real smooth like. Ace is still a little apprehensive. That is until Calvin Urkel goes to jail and a void is left wide open for Ace to take over his territory and build his clientele. If you're thinking like me, I know what you're thinking. That's way too easy to just pick up and play with drugs like that. But I think the movie didn't have enough time to be showing turf wars and all that other kind of stuff, so you just gotta suspend your disbelief a little bit. Plus, you already know the fastest way to show somebody rising in the drug game when your movie is only an hour and a half. That's right, you guessed it. Musical montage. We get Ace learning how to bottle up his cocaine, narration telling us that he's selling it cheaper and therefore faster than everybody else, and we also learn that it's a family affair because he gets everybody involved with this operation. Even one of my childhood crushes, Elise Neal, who's weirdly his auntie in this movie. I hope they don't think that wig made her look older. She's only 4 years older than Wood Harris. And yes, I know technically it's possible she could be his aunt, but come on. We even learned who Ace's biggest inspiration was for becoming a drug dealer. I'll give you one guess as to who that is. If you get it wrong, then you definitely haven't been paying attention to drug movies the last 30 years. It's Scarface, of course. Who else could it be? But at least in this case, this is actually what got AZ Faison into drugs, so it gets a pass for actually being based on the true story. He quits his job when his boss finds the drugs he was stashing under the counter, and even though this dude is running numbers out of his business, also illegal by the way, he tries to get all self-righteous on Ace. I guess in his mind, running numbers isn't actually hurting anybody like cocaine, but still. I want to be mad at him, but at the same time, I'm also like, let me get 257 straight box. All while this is going on, Mitch is in prison for participating in a retaliatory murder with one of his underlings. Being well known on the outside leads to people trying to pull your card on the inside. But I'll let rapper Nori explain to you how that went down.
10 niggas jumped the nigga, fam. 10 niggas pounded him out, stomped the shit out of this nigga, man. And this other Panamanian type of dude, I don't even know. He had like 10 razors in his ass, man. He takes it out his ass. He give a nigga $150 across his face, man. Blood everywhere, shit gushing. CO's not even coming, letting the whole shit go down, man. What's up with your peoples, man?
Remember the malice at the Palace back in 2004 when the Pacers got into it with the Pistons? Remember how Steven Jackson had absolutely nothing to do with the fight in the first place, but was the first one ready to throw hands? That's how I see Rico here. But hey, if there's one thing you can't buy, that's loyalty. And that's what Ace and Mitch have in Rico. Every crew has that one knucklehead who's always into something, but you need fools like this when it's about to go down. At the very least, it could be a distraction and take some punches. A useful idiot, if you will. Ace is gonna need people like that because his connect Lulu dies under mysterious circumstances and his boss is getting ready to promote your ass. I like the whole mystery surrounding Lulu's death. It gives the impression that no matter how big you get, anything can happen to you at any time. Hell, for all we know, these dudes killed Lulu. I can't believe I forgot to mention that Ace is dating Mitch's sister, who just so happens to be Regina Hall. Even with how around the way this movie makes her look, she's still a problem. You know, I kinda admire the fact that even though Ace gets a few cars and some jewelry and stuff, he's pretty much keeping a low profile. Even the real Ace said he saw no point in showing off in real life. It's in stark contrast to knucklehead Rico, who can't resist showing off his money, guns, and even his pornos.
You see? I hit her with the Dougie shit right there. You see it? You see it right there?
We gotta go.
This is like the go-to angle for amateur porn in black movies. Remember House Party 4 when the uncle had the same angle? It looks cheap as hell, and I wanna hate it, but the actors always look like they're having the greatest time ever with it, so I'm all for it. I'll tell you who's not having fun, and that's Ace. This drug stuff eventually just gets to be too much. First, these obvious cops approach him and ask to buy 2 drugs, please, sir. Then Urkel gets out of jail, and even though Ace sets him up with his own block out of loyalty, this Negro takes off his glasses and becomes Stefan all of a sudden, wanting all of his territory back. It doesn't work like that, fool. Ace is way too diplomatic to be a boss. In interviews, the real AZ Faison said that he felt the same way. Said he didn't believe in killing dudes and protecting territory and stuff like that. He said it was enough work for everybody to succeed. Either he was the most progressive drug dealer of all time, or he was incredibly naive. But hey, he's still alive to tell his story to this day, and it's not my place to question it. I'll leave that to hard-head ass Rico.
Kim, he don't get shit anyway. Who the fuck is this current frog face ass nigga right here, B? Slap the shit out you, B.
Hold on, Rico.
What the fuck is this nigga?
Hold on, one mother.
Calvin should have accepted what little he got and been grateful like Mitch. When he got out of jail, Ace set him up nicely too, and the only thing he really had to deal with was his junkie uncle. He's not getting high on that new school stuff like the rest of you young punks. He does heroin, a real man's drug, an old school drug. You don't know nothing about that, young nigga. Only problem is, there's a time and a place for everything, and the time to do drugs isn't in front of young kids like Sonny. Mitch, rightfully so, manhandles him and throws him out of the house. But it's more of a situation where his demons are coming back to bite him because he's the one who sold him the drugs in the first place. All of this leads us back to the original mystery at the beginning of the movie. Who whipped Ace's ass? Ice seems pretty pissed off that he can't get no paper from Mitch. Was it him? Calvin hasn't sent him to be mad. It could be him. It could even be those suspicious guys who wanted to buy from Ace earlier, who seemed like they were cops. I'll admit, it's not really the biggest mystery, especially if you grew up where all of this takes place, or listen to the many interviews AZ Faison has done over the years. It's of course Calvin and his crew looking to come up off Ace's success. This scene goes down almost exactly how AZ Faison said it did in real life, with a few small changes. Calvin gets mad that he can't open the safe, and they end up not only shooting Ace 9 times, twice in the head, but also kills 2 of his family members. Oh no, not Elise Neal. All of this while his girl Keisha is having a baby. I gotta assume that's the only thing that kept this man alive because damn, being shot as many times as cats have lives gives you a bit of a new perspective on life. And being that Ace never really had his whole heart in the game anyway, he decided he wants to give it all up. I'm sure his friends will understand.
Hey, yo, hey, niggas get shot every day, B. You be aight, nigga. You tough, right?
Well, damn. I wish I could be as carefree and not give a damn as much as Rico. Your mans get shot. No biggie. Let's just roll up to the perpetrator in broad daylight and handle that.
What's poppin', Kermit?
Boy, he really put that little DMX car shooting scene in Belly to shame, didn't he? The most heartbreaking stuff about this lifestyle is that it almost always leads to unintended consequences for people who have absolutely nothing to do with it. And that unfortunately ends up being one of the worst parts of not only Paid in Full the movie, but the real life story. Mitch's little brother Sonny gets kidnapped and held for ransom. The kidnappers send one of Sonny's fingers to his mom's with a letter and demands money for his release. Sadly, this pretty much happened exactly like this in real life with the real Rich Porter and his little brother Darnell. There's a documentary about it and a few interviews, and it's the saddest and also the dumbest thing about this whole situation because it was so unnecessary. The whole thing was set up by Ice, Mitch's uncle in the movie, just like the real life uncle of Rich Porter. That's kind of the theme of the movie and the theme of the drug game in general. Jealousy will get you every time. As far as the movie goes though, I don't think it spent enough time building up Sonny and Mitch's relationship for it to really have an impact, but that's because of time constraints and budget. More stuff was originally planned to be filmed, But I think they realized that this was more of an Ace/AZ Faison story than anybody else's, so it was scrapped. This led to some unintentional greatness though, because Mekhi Phifer got to give a hell of a monologue detailing his feelings on the whole situation, and it's the best acting in the entire movie, especially knowing that it was kind of thrown together last minute. I like that the movie kind of foreshadows that it's the last time that Ace will be seeing money making Mitch, and he gets to give a little subtle sign off before the fade. A little later, Ace finds out that they found not only Mitch dead, but also Sonny, and we get a flashback to see what happened. Turned out, Rico ain't as loyal as everybody thought, and he was the one who shot Mitch because, well, there's a real life reason why, but the movie itself doesn't go into a bunch of detail. All that really matters is that Mitch got a little revenge on the way out in the form of scratches on Rico's face, and Ace picks up on it at the basketball court. Now, knowing that Rico killed his friend, he knows just the people to introduce Rico to for more business. Yes, sir, I'm glad that you showed up to allow us to buy 3 cracks from you, sir. Of course, these guys are cops, and Rico is quickly arrested and given several decades for his crimes. The movie ends with the funeral of Mitch and Sonny, and a transition showing Ice and his accomplice going to jail also. But wait a minute, that's a lot of people going to jail who knows all of Ace's drug business. Plus his connect doesn't seem like the type who just lets people walk away. That means I probably gotta watch another interview to find out why this man ain't go to jail. Damn. Let's get to the grade. Between Belly and Paid in Full, I gotta say the one I regret not seeing earlier the most is Paid in Full. I thought it was great. A lot better than I perceived it to be at first glance. Sometimes when something is considered a cult classic, it's usually because the movie itself isn't very good, but it still appeals to a certain subculture. That's not the case with Paid in Full. It's a legitimate good movie, and one of the rare based on a true story movie that's around 90% accurate. That's nothing to take lightly. I would say that most true stories are only around 30 to 40% true, so being anywhere near 90% is an accomplishment. The only thing I could think that killed its buzz was the marketing. I didn't hear anything about Paid in Full until years after its release, and even then, it was mostly jokes and funny parts of the movie. Even now, it's mostly known for the amount of funny memes it's produced over the years. I never knew it had such competent acting, and is even good from a technical standpoint. I really missed out. If you had to guess which movie do you think was more successful at the box office, Belly or Paid in Full, which one would you guess? If you guessed Paid in Full, you're incredibly incorrect. Paid in Full only made $3 million on a $7.5 million budget, whereas Belly made $9 million on a $3 million budget. But if you ask me, Paid in Full is the better movie by several miles and in every category. Well, except maybe for soundtrack, but that just goes to show how important marketing is. Regardless, I'm glad Paid in Full finally found its audience down the line with DVD sales, and it deserves to be considered a cult classic. It's not a masterpiece, but it's definitely a hood classic. If you're interested in the true story of Paid in Full, AZ Faison and others have done tons of interviews over the years, so check them out online if you get a chance. As for the movie, my grade for Paid in Full is a B-. It is just another cautionary drug tale, but it's held up by fantastic acting and great set design. And that's it for this episode of the BlackTrack. I gotta say, I'm pretty burned out on drug movies. It's gonna be a minute before I do another one. Let me know what you thought about the movie Paid in Full in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about my channel. And until next time, I'll holla at you.